Hello students, today we are going to learn how to read properly. We are going to learn to read with appropriate pitch and rhythm, and we will read with attention to purpose and context. Now, for your new syllabus, you will be faced with two components, not three, two, reading aloud and spoken interaction. Today we will be dealing with component A, which is reading aloud. So it is the first part of the whole oral exam, and basically you have to be very focused on pronunciation and articulation. You must have good pronunciation and you must clearly pronounce your words. You must have good rhythm and fluency. What is rhythm? Rhythm basically is your up down, okay? And fluency is how smoothly you read. And of course, now in this new syllabus, they are also testing for expressiveness. So you have to be able to convey certain feelings or certain ideas in a very smooth and concrete way. So how do you get an A? Of course, an A is this mark range here, 9 to 10 marks. And we must have very clear pronunciation with only occasional errors. So clear pronunciation, okay. So whenever I circle or highlight, do make it a point to do so as well. And of course, you should have a smooth delivery. This is where your fluency comes in, with only occasional hesitations or self-corrections. And you should read with good awareness of purpose, audience, and context. So, in other words, you need to learn how to act a little bit. Now, most of you would end up falling into this range or this range. Unless you totally blow it, you will fall into this range, okay? But I think the majority of you may be straddling these two ranges, and if you are not careful, you might slip into the 3 to 5 mark range. So we have to learn how to read smoothly, but yet make minimal mistakes. Okay, so we were talking about pronunciation earlier on, weren't we? So I've told you before that you must always pay attention to words, the ending of the words, the last syllables of the words. So, for example, words like last, past, must, rust, right, might, kite, night, debt, met, eat, meet, meant, rent. So you really have to focus on the last sound of the word. They will definitely give you contractions to pronounce, so be very careful about that. Some commonly mispronounced contractions are hadn't, hasn't, mustn't, couldn't, wouldn't, didn't. So please go and try that out on your own. Words ending with ed: looked, aimed, crawled, locked, renowned, scanned, framed, stared, realized, pictured, sealed, rolled, increased, staggered. It sounds a little bit like the T sound, but it's a little bit softer. Words ending with K: dusk, book, dark, back, break, milk, work, break, make, check, mark, snake, rock, pack. So make sure you get the K sound at the end of the words correct. And this is a very common error with students. You forget to pronounce the S at the end of your words, especially the plural sounds. So words like teachers, scissors, students, cups, lips, kicks, sits, his, hers, mirrors, bottles, clips, sis, abacus. So practice that by yourselves too. And this is the one sound that always comes out wrong and teachers always spot it immediately. It is the TH sound. So when you see words beginning with TH or words ending with TH, be very careful to pronounce it properly. So it should be the, then, though, think, through, thank, throng. Stealth, Beth, math, mirth, moth, with, think. Or rather, that's the beginning sound, right? Think. So guys, don't forget the tongue is initially behind the teeth, okay? And then after that, you stretch it out quickly and you make the sound and then it goes back quickly again. If you really don't know how to do it, come look for me and I will show you. So for reading aloud, and of course spoken interaction as well, you are given 10 minutes to look at the passage and the picture. Before you actually do the reading aloud, you should read the passage quietly once by yourselves first. And then after that, you read the passage aloud at least 3 times by yourself. 3 times, thrice. Thrice. So why should you read silently to yourself first? Because you want to familiarize yourself with the passage. You want to identify the difficult words. And of course, you want to practice reading the difficult words first. Okay? So how do I do something like this? You, of course, have to note down the words that you have problems pronouncing. And then you attempt to practice it. And you ask yourself, of course, when you're reading the passage, what am I supposed to be doing? Am I supposed to be giving instructions, telling a story? What sort of acting should I do? So, in other words, you should definitely make sure that you know what the purpose and the context is. I will show you later how to spot the purpose and the context. Now you read the whole passage, and of course you have to pay attention to the beginning and ending syllables. Definitely make sure you pause at the full stops and commas. Respect them, please. And of course, you must have good pace, okay? So you must make sure that it is not too fast or too slow. Okay? Pitch and rhythm, it's all to do with whether or not you're reading in a monotone. The boy was going to school. That is a monotone, okay? The boy was going to school. If you notice my up, down kind of pitch and rhythm, okay? And of course the acting, sometimes you have to pretend you are giving instructions or you have to pretend you are delivering a report to the class. So you have to act appropriately, usually in a serious manner. So the first thing we need to do is look at the passage and identify difficult words. And you always look at the very first paragraph that they have in italics. Okay, italics are slanted words. So you have to read this and in order to find out what you are and what you are supposed to be doing, or rather who you are and what you are supposed to be doing. So you took part in a school project which was to find out about places where young people in your neighborhood meet. You have written a report for your project which you will now share with your class. So You are delivering a report to your class. In other words, you are supposed to be in front of the class, standing in front of the class, and delivering this report. So, can you guess what sort of tone you should adopt, and whether or not you should be friendly or chatty or serious, and if I'm going to be talking to in a formal context, okay, I'm doing some business here, or I'm talking to someone who is higher up than me. What sort of tone should I have? Should I have a more serious tone? If I'm addressing friends at a birthday party, then I can afford to be a little bit friendlier, a little bit on the jokey side, okay? But since you are delivering a report to your class, you are probably in a formal situation, so you have to be very serious and polite. All right, so now we are looking at the passage itself, the passage that you actually have to read. And the first thing that I actually did was to underline the words which I felt I might have problems with, maybe because of the ending sound or the beginning sound, or simply because it's a very long word or an unusual word or a word that you seldom have a chance to actually read. So you pick out words like this and practice them first. So I picked out words like task and gather. Task, gather, because of the TH sound in the middle. Gather. I also picked out words like cafe, situated, court. Of course, you might have other words that you might not be familiar with too, so do feel free to pick those out. I also picked out park and absolutely. I also picked out miserable and counsel. I also picked out suggestion. So how do we practice now? I have given you Audioboo accounts. Those of you who still have problems with your Audioboo account should come look for me. Do record your voices and the way you deliver the speech on Audioboo. Record them and play it back, listen to yourselves, and ask yourselves, do I fall into the 9 to 10 mark range, or do I fall into the B range, or do I fall into the C range, or even worse still, I get only a maximum of 2 marks for my reading, which, as I've said before, it is not impossible to get, but it is not that easy to fall into the 2 mark range either. But having said that, we are aiming for an A or a very high B. So this is my goal for everyone. So you need to spot the mistakes that you make when you're reading the passage, and do be very honest with yourselves and make sure you take this exercise very seriously, because those students who would do well for this, and mind you, our oral exam is 20%, usually it will help to pull up your overall grade. So you really need to take this very, very seriously. Please practice and practice over and over again, especially with friends. Do not forget that your oral exam is way before the written paper, and your actual mid-year exam is going to be immediately after your term 2 break, or it could be even during the June holidays. We have yet to decide on that, so do start practicing now. Once again, don't forget beginning and ending syllables, pausing at full stops and commas, pace, whether too fast or too slow, pitch and rhythm, which is your monotone, be very careful of that, and acting. So let's see how I model it for you now. since I'm delivering a report to the class, I have decided to adopt a serious, formal, business-like tone. Notice that I have placed slashes in between sentences. This is to indicate where I have a short pause or a long pause. Single slash, short pause, double slash, long pause. So let's see how I do it now. My task was to investigate an area within a 1 kilometer radius of the school and to gather information on where young people meet up after school and at weekends. I'm afraid I have to report back that there are, in fact, very few suitable places in our area. I discovered that the 3 main meeting areas are as follows. 1. The cafe on the corner of Cooper Street, opposite the train station. As most of you know, this is very small and is situated at a busy junction. 2. The food court on the main road. This is always packed and there is very limited space. Often, we just want to meet up for a chat, but end up buying food that we don't really want. And 3. The park at the bottom of the hill. This is small, not very well cared for, and although there are a few swings for young children, there is absolutely nothing for young people for our age. So, as you can see, it's a pretty miserable picture. Nothing is going to change unless we take some action. So, I'm proposing that what we do now is put together a list of suggestions to present to the local council. Things like putting a few benches in one corner of the park so that we have a pleasant sitting area. There'll be a suggestion box in the school hall for the next week. So, let's have lots of ideas and then we'll put together a list. Thank you. Now, I have given you a sample speech. I would like you to try reading it, paying attention to the beginning and ending syllables, pausing at full stops and commas, your pace, your pitch and your rhythm, and of course, your acting. If you're supposed to be delivering a speech or a presentation to your class, what kind of tone should you have? What kind of acting should you have, in other words? So do take a look at my speech and start recording it on Audioboo.